These are the notes and examples for section 13.2, probability distributions and frequency tables. So a frequency table is going to be a data display. It's going to show several different things. It's going to show how often an item appears in different categories. So the key to this is that we have categories, and then we have how often it appears within each one. We're also going to work with calculating relative frequencies. This is a ratio of the frequency of the category to the total. So it's our frequency of the category. This frequency of our category is our event, and it's going to go over our total frequency. So this probably sounds familiar because this is pretty much the same thing as the probability of our event, which is our favorable over the total. So your relative frequency is pretty much the same thing as the fractional probability. The key to this is we are going to leave this as a ratio, which is going to be in fraction forms. So this is an approximation of the overall probability of the results. A probability distribution shows the probability of each possible outcome. So we're going to do this with a frequency table. So within each of our individual categories, we are going to calculate. So we're going to create a frequency table showing all of the possible outcomes, and then we're going to use the table to find the relative frequencies, and these are the probability distribution. So here's our first question. They have a frequency table for us. We have our different categories, and we have how frequent each item happened. So we're going to find the relative frequency. Our relative frequencies are ratios. So they are a ratio. So we have the fractions, and we have our frequency of category. So our first category is classical. So we're going to use that number. Our second problem, our category is hip hop. So we'll use that number. And our third problem, our category is country. So we'll use that number. And this goes over the total frequency. Now this is something that we are going to have to, sorry about that, we are going to have to calculate. So our total, we're just going to need to add all of these together. So 10 plus 7 plus 8 plus 5 plus 6 plus 4, and our total is 40. So the 40 is our bottom number for each of our relative frequencies, and then we just go in and enter our frequency for each category. So classical is 5, hip hop is 7, country is 8. And then one thing that a lot of you tend to forget is you forget to simplify your fractions. 5 over 40 will simplify to 1/8. 7 over 40 is simplified, and 8 over 40 will simplify to 1/5. So it's a ratio. So we have our frequency for that particular category over the total. The total is simply a sum of all the frequencies, and then we simplify those fractions. So here's another one, but instead of asking for relative frequency, it asks for our probability. So once again, they've given us a frequency table. So we have a spinner, we have the results of 1, 2, 3, and 4, and we have our frequency. So we're looking for the probability of getting a 4 on the next spin. So we want the probability of a 4. So our probability, we need two things. So I need the number of times the experiment was done. So I need to calculate the total. So I need to add together all these values, 29, 32, so 29, 32, 21, 21, and 18. And our total is 100. And then we need to find our favorable. So we're looking for the 4. So we're going to use the 18. So we have 18 over 100. We either need to simplify this fraction or as a decimal or percent. So 18 over 100 is 0.18. It is 18%. Okay, our next problem. On a math test, there were 10 scores between 90 and 100, 12 scores between 80 and 89, 15 scores between 70 and 79, and 8 scores between 60 and 69, and 2 below 60. We're going to get a probability distribution. So we're going to make a table for this. So we're going to start out and we're going to look at our score range. For each of those, we have a frequency, and for each of those, we have a probability. So our score ranges, we have 90 to 100, and it has 10. So we've got that one. We have 80 to 89 with 12. So we have that one. We have 70 to 79 with 15. So we have that one. We have 60 to 69 with 8. So we got that one. And then we have below 60 with 2. Now, before we can calculate a probability, we need the total. So we need to do a quick calculation of our information. So we have 10, 12, 15, 8, and 2 to get 47. So when we deal with our probability, that 47 is our bottom number each time. So our 47 is the bottom number each time. Then we go through and we fill in our frequency. So we have 10, 12, 15, 18, and 2. And if you do a quick check, if you add all of these together, our total should end up being a 100%. So you can always do a check. 10 out of 47 plus 12 out of 47 plus 15 out of 47 plus 18 out of, oh, that's not 18. That's an 8. That's not an 18. That's an 8. 8 out of 47 plus 2 out of 47, and this should equal 1. So all of your probabilities together should equal 1. So it is our category, our frequency in each category, and our probability is our frequency over the total information. And our total comes from the sum of our frequency.